Okay, so before I begin, I just would like to give a shout out to John Musker, which you may know as the Disney director who would collaborate with Ron Clements to go and direct plenty of beloved Disney animated features, since he actually recently retired. And as you guys may know, John Musker, along with Ron Clements, he would go and direct movies such as The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet, The Princess and the Frog, and Moana. And on top of that, he is actually a three-time Oscar-nominated director, considering that his last three movies were nominated for Best Animated Feature. But now, since he is announced to be retired, the only thing that I want to say is that I wish you the best of luck in your retirement, Mr. Musker, and thank you so much for many of these wonderful and life-changing animated features. You really made a great impact, not just at Disney, but in the whole medium of animation in general, along with Ron. So for that, I just want to say thank you. Okay, so with all that said and done, let's go ahead and start with our first story right over here with Lady and the Tramp. And I'm sure you guys, if you're listening to this, you're probably very familiar with Lady and the Tramp, the 1955 Walt Disney classic, in which I actually do have a little article right over here on the story that I want to talk about, but apparently the story goes is that Lady and the Tramp, released in 1955, told the love story between a pampered cocker spaniel named Lady and a streetwise mongrel named Tramp. Lady finds herself out of the streets after her owners have a baby, and it's saved from a pack by Tramp, who tries to show her how to live her life footloose and collar-free. And from there, if there is one thing that is highly memorable about Lady and the Tramp, not just from the wonderful animation done by the nine old men, along with plenty of other animators at the time, but the most memorable thing that ever came out of Lady and the Tramp is, of course, the Bella Notte scene when the dogs would eat spaghetti, and then you see, like, true love really connecting right over there. Not only is it the most memorable romantic scene in an animated feature, but it is also one of the most memorable romantic scenes in a movie in general. Oh, actually, there is one more thing that I would like to mention, is that just recently, not too long before I recorded this, Lady and the Tramp actually did get re-released on Blu-ray as part of the Walt Disney Signature Collection. So there is a little bit of relevancy related to Lady and the Tramp right now. So if you guys want to get a chance to actually see the movie yourself, you can actually go ahead and buy either the DVD or the Blu-ray. Or even digital, actually. I usually forget about that. I'm more of just a Blu-ray and DVD kind of guy. I'm more of a physical kind of guy, actually. But anyways, with all of that said and done, I would like to ask you guys a little question about Lady and the Tramp. Who here would like to have a live-action remake of it? You don't? Well, too bad, because Disney is going to make one anyways. Yes, it has been announced that Disney is actually going to be working on a live-action remake based on Lady and the Tramp. And the first thing that they have done in order to create this movie is that they actually went and hired Charlie Bean to be the director. Now, how this movie is actually going to work is that apparently it says here, again in my source here on the Hollywood Reporter, that this is actually going to be a live-action CGI hybrid. So it's going to be a little bit of one of those movies where a lot of CGI will be incorporated onto the film, but for the most part, it will be live action in order to create Lady and the Tramp. Now, there isn't any other elements, there isn't any other information related to this that has been revealed. We don't know how close it's going to remake the original movie, or if it's going to include a lot of the original songs. I mean, well, there's no secret that, of course, they gotta do Bella Notte, but regards to plenty of the other songs in there, like the ones sung by Peggy Sue, that I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see regarding that information. However, there is one major catch when it comes to this live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp, is that this one will not be released in theaters. Instead, Disney is actually going to be releasing this one in their upcoming streaming service. Now, you guys are probably familiar with their big streaming service that they want to go and plan. Pretty much their biggest project that's going to be coming out late in 2019, in which they're going to put all their movies, all their TV shows, and all that kind of stuff in there, along with giving out some exclusive movies and exclusive TV shows. You might have heard about some of them, like a series based on Star Wars, in which Jon Favreau is going to work on that, a series based on Monsters, Inc., a new Muppet series, and all that kind of stuff, and even some remakes of some of their older live-action films. Like, I've heard that they're doing one based on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. They could also be doing one based on The Parent Trap. Yes, they would be remaking The Parent Trap again. And it looks like this is going to be another one in their collection, the live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp. However, some of you might be wondering about Charlie Bean himself. Is this guy trustworthy to go and actually work on a movie like this? Well, you'll have to see for yourself looking into his history or his career, which surprisingly enough, this is actually his first major jump onto a live-action production of this caliber, because beforehand, Charlie Bean actually has a prominent career in animation, where he started out working as an animator. Actually, let me just read you a little bit more onto the Hollywood Reporter source, saying that Bean is a longtime animator who has written on Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack, and directed 18 out of the 19 episodes of Disney XD's Tron Uprising before making his feature debut with the Lego Ninjago movie last year. And it even added in how this is a little bit in Charlie Bean's comfort zone, because even though this is a live-action production, there will still be some elements of animation that will be included onto this film. So yeah, basically, long story short, Disney is making a live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp that's going to be directed by the same guy who did the Lego Ninjago movie. Now, first and foremost, I guess we'll pretty much have to talk about what people are pretty much thinking. And I think it's pretty much this one big question: really? They gotta go and find whatever they can to do all these random remakes, and now they gotta do Lady and the Tramp out of all things? And I mean, yeah, sure, it does seem pretty random that they would have to go and do Lady and the Tramp. And I think the one thing that does worry me a little bit, it would have to be the aspect that they mentioned this is going to be part live action, part CGI. So technically, you might think that maybe they could go into this live action area where they would have real people and real sets, but the dogs are going to all be computer animated, and we're going to be focusing a lot on that. But that might not be the case. What I'm thinking that Disney could be doing in here is that, yeah, there will be some computer animation added into this, and maybe there won't be a lot of it, but from what I can see, is that Disney could be doing something in the veins of movies like Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Like, you're going to see real-life dogs walking around, but there will be some elements in which there will be some CGI, like maybe on some more over-the-top crazy movements, or mostly in their mouths, so it looks like they're talking with their lips. And this is not the only example that I can think of with Beverly Hills Chihuahua. There are plenty of other movies that would do that as well. And some of them don't turn out some good results, per se. Now, what I'm talking about, of course, there are movies like Cats vs. Dogs. I'm sure you can think of some of them. Or another example that I can think of is something called Show Dogs. Okay, now, if you guys don't know what Show Dogs is, holy crap! It is a sight to behold. Now, as I'm recording this, it has not been released yet. Apparently, it's going to be coming out sometime in August, but you gotta see the trailer. It truly is a sight to behold, and it is purely crazy.
Bikini wax?
What? Like, I can pretty much see this as the dog equivalent of 9 Lives. It is something that looks so stupid, but my god, it's just like a disastrous mess that you just want to see and have a good time to just relish on its badness. Basically, imagine if Miss Congeniality would go into a dog show. That's basically what you would get with Show Dogs. And the trailer that they presented in there, it's just like, oh my god, this looks so stupid. I think I want to check that one out. And that's what I could possibly see with what could happen with Lady and the Tramp. Like, maybe they won't do stupid stuff like that, like what you would see in Show Dogs, but in terms of the filmmaking aspect, how they would craft this movie would be something a little bit like that, where they would have live-action CGI, live-action dogs, but some elements of them would look CGI so that we can see them talk or do some random movements and stuff like that. Or I'm pretty sure they would use CGI in order to have the dogs eat spaghetti, because if they're going to try to recreate that scene in that way, like in the original animated feature, there's no way that you can actually do it with dogs. I'm just saying. But overall, when I would look into the further details about this Lady and the Tramp remake, I think I do understand what Disney is doing. And I think I understand why are we even getting a live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp in the first place. It's not necessarily because they want to try to really cash in on the live-action remake trend and they're really going into literally anything they can in order to go and create live-action remakes and try to capitalize on all that, thinking that, oh, this is going to be like the next Maleficent or the next Beauty and the Beast or the next Jungle Book or something crazy like that. That's not the reason why. I think the important thing to really get from this is the fact that they're releasing it on their streaming service. So this is not necessarily made to be a movie on its own, but rather this is just a promotional tool for something bigger. Because really think about it, like I said before, one of the biggest projects that Disney is trying to craft, and they're building this for a while right now, probably more than a year or two, is that Disney wants to make sure that they have their own streaming service, that they want to get into that competition against stuff like Netflix and Hulu and all the other streaming service. They really want to be a major competitor in that field, offering their own brand of movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff, and even their own exclusive things. So with this live action remake of Lady and the Tramp, they want to try to promote it and try to basically to attract fans of the Disney live action remakes. Basically to say that if you're a major fan of movies like Beauty and the Beast or Pete's Dragon or Alice in Wonderland or Maleficent or whatever, then you can actually get an exclusive movie that would fit in that category onto their streaming service, and you gotta go there to check it out. And considering with Lady and the Tramp, it is actually the perfect subject to actually do something like that, where you don't have to release it on the big screen, but you can easily just slap it in onto the streaming service, because technically, when you compare it to many of the other Disney animated films that they have, Lady and the Tramp is one of them in which you can really cut down costs. Like, you don't necessarily have to make this $100 million budgeted animated, or this $100 million big budgeted movie in order to craft something like this. Like, you could just slash it down to make the budget a little bit smaller or just a whole lot smaller so that you could put it on the streaming service and it wouldn't be any danger whatsoever. Like, you're not really going to lose money. And I think that could be one big thing that you should really expect when it comes to this streaming service. Like, if that ends up becoming very successful and this Lady and the Tramp remake ends up becoming very successful, then I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we could actually be seeing a lot more of these live action remakes, but with a lower budget and not released in theaters, but rather just on that streaming service. Like, it could maybe inspire them to do stuff like maybe Bambi, something in the veins of what Jon Favreau is going to do with the Lion King live action remake, or maybe they could do one on the Aristocats. I mean, anything is possible. Anything is open to interpretation. So who knows how that's going to go, but I could totally see that they could do something like that. So that's basically my thought on why they're even doing this in the first place, is to make sure they would go and cut down costs. And Lady and the Tramp is not necessarily a product in itself, but rather a promotional tool for a bigger product. And is this gonna work? Is it not? That I'm not sure. Honestly, we'll have to wait and see with how the streaming service is gonna go. If that's a big hit, then most likely this Lady and the Tramp remake is going to be a big hit as well. Maybe not necessarily as big as the ones that are going to be released in theaters, but I honestly don't know with how they're going to pull it off. That, or I don't know how close they are going to stay in terms of how they're going to adapt it to the original. Is it going to be a loose adaptation? Are they going to stick close to the original story? Are they going to reinvent the story? Are they going to put it in a different time zone? That I don't know. They didn't bring out a lot of information. The only thing that we know is that the guy who did the Lego Ninjago movie is also going to be doing this. And honestly, I don't know what to expect coming out of this, but I guess overall, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think they even mentioned a release date. Like, they did mention that it's going to be coming out, like, the streaming service itself is going to be coming out in the fall of 2019, but they didn't specify when this movie in particular is going to be released. Maybe it'll be out on the same day as the streaming service. Maybe it'll be much later. But it did mention here that the service will have 4 to 6 movies a year, among content that will include films and TV shows from Disney brands like Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars. So this could be a possibility that this is going to be one of the first big ones. But again, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But yeah, overall, we're going to be getting a live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp. Won't that be fun?